Arizona. You're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks to those of you joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Lauren Munt, and we start tonight with new details on a civil rights suit against Midland County that might have national implications. A woman named Irma Wilson is suing the county, and a former prosecutor named Ralph Petty and former district attorney Al Shore for violating her constitutional right to a fair trial. Wilson's case was dismissed at first, but now it's being reviewed by all Fifth Circuit Courts of Appeals. CBS7's Hannah Brock spoke with Wilson and her attorney, and she's got more on what you should know. Hannah?
I just felt like it was an injustice on my behalf and so many others.
The case's roots are in Ralph Petty's alleged 2 decades of work as a law clerk and a prosecutor in Midland County. In a typical case, a prosecutor is an advocate while a judge remains neutral.
Because a prosecutor was simultaneously working both sides of the bench in Ms. Wilson's criminal proceeding, working for the judge while also employed by the prosecution team, that violated Ms. Wilson's fundamental right to due process because it was an inherently defective proceeding based on that conflict of interest.
Wilson was convicted in 2001 on a drug possession charge. She fought to appeal it and maintains her innocence, but she spent 8 years on probation, which she said derailed her dream of becoming a registered nurse.
I had 3 kids. I had to take whatever job just to be able to survive. And a lot of the jobs were low-paying jobs, like restaurants and things like that.
And nothing ultimately can truly account for that, but we are seeking some form of accountability and vindication for the violation of our constitutional rights.
A 3-judge panel in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals called Petty's alleged work bonkers and a, quote, dodgy side hustle, end quote. However, her suit could not proceed because of the complicated text of a civil rights code called Section 1983. Currently, Wilson must show her conviction was invalid to pursue damages. But that's impossible, because Wilson found out about Petty's alleged wrongdoing long after she had already completed her probation.
You have this egregious constitutional harm, and it was concealed until one avenue of relief was taken off the table for Ms. Wilson. Should she be further punished, essentially, by saying she can't use this federal civil rights statute to vindicate the egregious violation of her constitutional rights.
That's why the case is under en banc review. All Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals judges will hear the case and decide if that rule should be changed, allowing her suit to proceed. Oral arguments were heard last week. It could be months before a decision is made. Wilson was a certified nursing assistant at the time of her conviction. 7 years ago, she earned her medical assistant certification. But she has another goal.
Being able to have the law changed to where other prosecutors can't do this to anybody else. That's means so much to me. I get so excited thinking about it and everything,
Now, if any of those details sound familiar to you, that's because in 2021, another case had its conviction overturned because of prosecutor Ralph Petty's work, and as both a prosecutor and as a law clerk for judges. Clinton Young, accused of murdering 2 people in 2001, had his conviction and death row sentence thrown out by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. That appeals court found that Young's due process rights to an impartial judge and a fair trial were violated. You can find more details about Young's and Wilson's cases on our website, CBS7.com. Tracking crime now, a man was arrested in West Odessa this morning after leading police on a car chase with a child in the vehicle. 33-year-old Jesus Espinoza was wanted for warrants in New Mexico. It happened around 6 o'clock this morning. He was driving with a woman and child in Ector County. He led state troopers on a car chase before jumping out and trying to run away. An Ector County Sheriff's Office K-9 helped capture Espinoza near Tomahawk and Teepee in West Odessa. He's charged with evading arrest and endangerment of a child. In a developing story for you now, the Texas Homeschool Coalition is pushing back after a Midland mother was charged with truancy. Midland ISD calls their response a fundraising campaign. Rodriguez was called to truancy court for her son's alleged unexcused absences from public school. Rodriguez claims that she withdrew her son from MISD schools in April and says she's been homeschooling him since. Prior to April, the child had multiple absences, and the district says it's their duty to pursue any student that is continually absent from school, including taking the parent to truancy court. According to the THSC, Rodriguez pled guilty to an initial charge of truancy because she says she thought she had to in order to pay a fine and resolve the issue. Since that initial mistaken guilty plea, the THSC claims the case has become an inquisition of her homeschooling, with the court asking for her to provide curriculum and attendance logs, which the THSC says is not legally required of homeschooling in Texas. And Midland ISD says that they followed all protocols according to the state compulsory attendance law. Meanwhile, the THSC says that they're mounting a defense for Rodriguez, as well as raising funds. Rodriguez will appear in court May 24th. Be sure to stick with CBS7 as we continue to follow this case. And another developing story for you. Around 11 o'clock this morning, Midland Fire and police units responded to reports of an aircraft emergency at the Midland Air Park near Loop 250 in North Midland. A single-engine plane made a hard landing, resulting in the plane coming to rest in a field near the runway, suffering some damage, including a broken wing. 2 people were checked for injuries, but their conditions or any other details about what may have gone wrong have not yet been released. But we will, of course, continue to keep you updated as we learn more. We're going to take a pause now and talk your weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Tom Teefer-Teller. Tom, it was a warm weekend. Can we expect it to get any cooler this week, or is it going to stay hot?
Yeah, we are looking at, again, some very hot conditions, topped out at triple digits once again today across the Permian Basin, right at 100 out at the Midland National Air and Spaceport. That's about 10 degrees above where we should be this time of the year, and only 3 degrees off a record high. 101 at Midland Air Park, 100 in Big Spring and Odessa. The hot spots, Wink, Fort Stockton, 103, 104 in Pecos, and Presidio, and 114 down at Rio Grande Village today. We are looking at a nice sunset with those high clouds out there, and temperatures are cooling off, but still hanging on to plenty of 90s out there as we're still dealing with that west to a southerly wind now as that dry line's pushing back to the west across the area. And overnight tonight, not cooling off a lot, only into the lower 70s it looks like, as we are going to be seeing a weak cool front move in, help us out on temperatures a little bit coming up tomorrow.
Thank you, Tom. Now a story that's all new at 9. Miss Texas was in the Permian Basin today to talk about the importance of literacy and education. Take a look. Ellie Bro, Miss Texas, met with students, educators, and leaders in the community to talk about the power that literacy holds. The visit aimed to inspire young learners for the future, talk about mental health, and also teach them how to value others and themselves.
Oh, it means the world. When I was younger, I didn't have someone that looked like me that wanted to share a message like this. And so to be a minority in this position and share that you can actually appreciate what God gave you and then also to value others is very important. It's also important for me to inspire our minority community and help them become better than what they grew up in.
Today, Miss Texas visited schools in Midland as well as the Odessa Boys and Girls Club. And last week, 28 nonprofits across the Permian Basin received funds from the Permian Basin Area Foundation. Over $1 million were donated across West Texas. This spring, 28 nonprofits in Midland, Odessa, Alpine, Marfa, Marathon, Martin County, and more received funding. The foundations hope that these organizations invest that money right back into the community with the many services that they provide. The PBAF believes that although nonprofits may have wants, this is a time to ask for needs.
So part of what we do day to day is to encourage them to not really tell us what we want to hear, but tell us what they just need. And so the amounts come down to whatever is on their heart to request for.
One of the organizations that applied for this grant was the I-20 Wildlife Preserve. A couple of months ago, they had vandals come in and break screens, locks, and the pipes to one of their water systems. And although they were able to fix it before receiving this money, they're relieved that they can use these funds for their future projects.
With a generosity like the Permian Basin Area Foundation, provides us the ability to keep moving forward with our mission, keeps the ability for the innovation and growth in the future that we see of this organization going forward.
If you'd like information on the fall cycle to apply for this grant, you can visit our website, CBS7.com. And to support even more nonprofits in the Permian Basin, set your alarms, because when the clock strikes midnight, this year's Permian Basin Gives will begin. 24 hours of raising money for local nonprofits. This year, Permian Basin Gives includes 117 nonprofits, setting a collective goal of $870,000. Giving begins at 12:01 a.m. and will continue through 11:59 p.m.
They range from all sorts of missions and service areas. They're Midland, Odessa, Trans-Pecos. They're from all over the Permian Basin. The importance of it is that all gifts matter, and a small gift can be multiplied by many people.
They are matching up to $14,000 dollar for dollar. So if you give $100, they're going to match $100, and Meals on Wheels is going to be the beneficiary of that match.
Starting at 12:01 tonight, you can donate by going directly to your favorite nonprofit's website or by visiting our website to see all participating organizations. And today is National Rescue Dog Day, and so far this year, Fix West Texas has had 600 dogs adopted. That's out of the roughly 1,000 dogs that have entered Fix West Texas this year without knowing if they'd ever find their forever home. To avoid euthanizing dogs that have a chance to live, Fix West Texas gets the dogs to fosters that are willing to temporarily open their home to a dog.
Well, I mean, it really is a community effort to help find homes for all of these animals. And I mean, it's just your average everyday Joe that steps up and offers to foster, offers to volunteer, offers to adopt. That's really where we make a difference. And without our community, we just couldn't do what we do.
The number of stray dogs in West Texas has increased in recent years, but this August, Fix West Texas will open the doors to a new, bigger shelter. For information on adoption, foster programs, or donating to Fix West Texas, you can visit fixwesttexas.com. Turning now to some local sports, the UTPB baseball team made a lot of strides in 2024. They finished the season going 35-25, reached the Lone Star Conference tournament, then made it into the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2009. Just to recap this weekend, the Falcons took down Regis University on Friday night, 21-12, in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, it was a short-lived appearance for the Falcons after they were eliminated by Lubbock Christian University. Meanwhile, Odessa College began their national championship run in Oxford, Alabama. The Lady Wranglers took Game 1 over Trinidad State College today, 10-2. And Odessa will be back in action tomorrow when they faced Florida Southwestern at 11 a.m. Be sure to tune in tonight for even more local sports coverage with Sports Director Jair Brooks Davis. And still ahead with summer just around the corner, it's time for vacation, which means vacation travel. A look at this year's predictions up next. The unofficial start to summer is right around the corner, and early forecasts are pointing to a season filled with travel. AAA predicts tens of millions of people will travel away from home this Memorial Day weekend. Ivan Rodriguez tells us what these numbers mean for people's travel plans.
Nearly 44 million people will travel 50 miles or more from home this Memorial Day weekend. 3.5 million of them are expected to travel by air, a 9% increase compared to 2019, according to AAA.
In 2005, that was the busiest Memorial Day weekend we've seen in 25 years. That was 4 years after 9/11 and right before the recession. So that year was particularly busy for travel. What we're seeing now is in 2024, 4 years after the pandemic, the travel industry has just come back in a big way.
Aixa Diaz with AAA says Memorial Day travel paints a picture of what we can expect for summer travel. Based on their projections, the season is expected to be sizzling hot. The Transportation Security Administration, for its part, also expects setting new records this summer. The agency predicts screening more than 3 million passengers on same peak days this upcoming season.
Airports are going to be packed. If you've flown recently, you know that most flights these days don't have many empty seats left. People are flying in big numbers.
Diaz says road trips are also expected to set a new record, with about 38 million people traveling by car, with gas prices similar to last year.
Gas prices have been ticking down in recent days, and they really remained steady over the past month or so. So we haven't seen any spikes in gas prices.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Well, we are going to be looking at some hot conditions for Memorial Day weekend. Not quite as hot, though, as what we've been dealing with. We'll talk about how hot it got today and what the forecast looks like. Coming up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, as we take a look at high temperatures again today across the area, got into the triple digits, and one more time out at the Midland National Air and Spaceport. A lot of three-digit numbers out there across portions of the Permian Basin, west into the Trans-Pecos. Hottest down here along the Presidio Valley, the Rio Grande. 104 there in Presidio. 114 again was the hot spot down in Rio Grande Village. We're still hanging on to some warm temperatures. Still 91 out at Midland Air Park, 92 in Odessa. So you can see some readings still up there, 96 in the Pecos area and still 103 in and around Rio Grande Village. Those mountain areas really starting to look nice there with temperatures into the lower 80s. All this being caused by a big ridge of high pressure that's really not going to let go of our weather here over the next few days. It's going to keep things relatively quiet. We are seeing a little trough move in across the Intermountain West. That's going to swing another cool front through, but it's not going to do a lot to our cooling, get us out of triple digits. So that's, a successful win there for this front. But overall, though, we're going to be looking at pretty hot and dry conditions for the rest of the week. Plenty of high clouds moving across, made for a nice sunset across the area. But overall, though, pretty quiet across the state as things are very hot. This dry line is going to shove back to the west. So we're going to see things remain on the hot side, but a little bit nicer overnight tonight. As temperatures across the state, well, what we saw today was some very hot readings, especially here in West Texas, Lubbock up to 98 degrees. And where they didn't get above 95 here across portions of East Texas, we saw heat index values up into triple-digit territory, especially here in deep South Texas. Futurecast showing not a lot going on with the showers, thunder showers. That dry line shoves east again, so we may see some isolated stuff spark up here across portions of Crockett County by late tomorrow evening as that dry line moves back. And then about the same process once again occurring on Thursday as we're going to see again any isolated showers, thunderstorms well off to our east. Things will be pretty quiet across West Texas when it comes to rain chances. Rest of tonight, very mild, only the lower 70s on the way. We'll pick up that west wind tomorrow, so warming up a little bit. It'll come around to the northwest briefly. That's that front that'll keep us out of triple digits, about mid-90s. What we're looking at for tomorrow afternoon, your CBS7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast. Well, it does look like we are going to see things remain into the mid to upper 90s for the rest of the week. I think we're going to see a hot, dry forecast. Nothing too spectacular when it comes to rain chances anytime soon. And if you're planning things outdoors this Memorial Day weekend, again, the weather is going to be hot, mainly dry all the way through Memorial Day next Monday.
Look up. It's in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the oldest man to ever be launched into space. The senior astronaut stories up next. A 90-year-old man has become the oldest man to go into space. Take a look. Ed Dwight was a top Air Force test pilot and trained to become NASA's first black astronaut 60 years ago. But he was denied the chance back then. Sunday morning, Dwight finally accomplished his mission aboard Blue Origin's new Shepard rocket. He says his call sign for the flight, justice. It's for all the people who supported him over the years.
And here's a grand opportunity at this late date to fulfill that for self-satisfaction, yes, but more importantly, to satisfy all the wonderful people that have showered me with love for all these years.
The 90-year-old ended up in a far different career, first as a businessman and then an artist, sculpting nearly 20,000 pieces. Dwight beats out actor William Shatner as the oldest person ever to fly to space and says he's not finished just yet. He wants to go into orbit next time. Still ahead, the portal has reopened, and now you can reach Dublin, Ireland from New York. We'll explain this app next. All right, Tom, so we talked about the portal a few weeks ago, actually, that it was opened up, and it was then temporarily shut down because of inappropriate behavior. But it's since reopened. This is, again, the portal that connects New York and Dublin. Officials say the live stream restarted Sunday morning, and they'll now have specific hours of operation over the coming weeks. It'll run each day from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., and there will now be security present. So I guess there wasn't before, which may not have been the best idea, but the security will try and keep people from acting inappropriately on the live stream.
What's the old saying? This is why we can't have nice things.
I mean, but at least it's going to be certain hours now. I think before it was like 24 hours. So
and I think before you could walk right up to it. Now
yes,
they got
you
it
could
all
go right. They got it fenced off now.
So.
They've learned their lesson. They're going to start doing it differently. Thanks for joining us tonight for CBS7 News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news coming up tonight at 10.